Hello AFDA students, Coach Dow here with our first video lesson, and hopefully you are able to get this slide off of Schoology, or you're able to possibly download a Word document that might look like this. And these will be our notes for today. And with the slide or Word document, you're going to be able to fill in fields. You just may have to click on where I'm writing up here on the bright link and type it in. So hopefully all those fill-in spaces or text boxes are in your notes and you can follow along A-OK. But if there's problems, just let me know when we've completed this part of the day. When we get back in our conference setting, just please let me know what type of issues you ran into, and hopefully we can fix those, and if we need to make it better, we'll make it better for you. But our lesson for today, as you can see, is review of 1- and 2-step equations. We want to be able to solve 1- and 2-step equations and show our work. We have some terms that we're going to be mentioning today. One is variable, the word term, opposite, undo, equation, properties of equality, something called the additive inverse, and something called the multiplicative inverse. And this is something that you've done before, maybe starting in about the 8th grade. You solved equations. And you know the answer to this equation, or its question here, it says, what is an equation? It's a mathematical expression just with an equal sign. So if this is our first notes we typed in, you may have to click on that box right there and type in an equal sign. Or if you printed it off, you're just going to write it in just like I'm doing, but probably a little neater. Now, the goal of solving an equation is to get the desired variable, first word that we use right there, or unknown by itself on one side of the equal sign. We'll talk more about that in a second. Now, for your warm-up today in quizzes, you use something called the additive inverse property, where you went ahead and added opposites and you got a certain result, which was? That's right, 0. A lot of times you got 0. So we use opposites to come up with 0 when we're solving equations. You'll see that play out here in a second. It says write the opposite for the following here under example 1. So if you were going to write the opposite of 2, you would plot down a -2. A opposite of -8 is +8. You can think about opposites being the same distance from 0 on a number line. So if you had a number line in my hands here, and 0 is right here in the middle, and you folded it, the opposites would be right across from each other. So the opposite of 5 would be -5, and the opposite of -11 would be a +11. And like we said, if you were to take and add the opposites together from your warm-up today, you know that's going to be 0. And again, that's the additive inverse property. So let's see how we use that property to help us solve equations. Again, solve an equation by getting the variable alone on one side. And if we look at this equation right here, it's the expression with that equal sign in there. We want to get this variable by itself, and beside it has a +13. So we're going to add the opposite of a +13 or a +13, which is -13. And we use something called the property of equalities. What we do to one side of the equation, we're going to do to the other side. So the sides are chosen up through an equal sign. So right through there. And maybe some of y'all drew a river or a fence through there. And if you like doing that, please continue to do that. So I'll draw this line right here to clean this up. And I got X over here, and 24 minus 13 is 11. So we'll put that guy right there, put an equal sign in there. And now we have gotten that variable all by itself, and we know what X is equal to. Over here we have A minus 4 is equal to 19. Again, trying to get that variable by itself. So we're going to add 4 to both sides, which is the opposite of -4 and -4, whichever way you think about that. So we're going to wind up with A is equal to 23. Now, again, remember this, that the equal sign creates sides. The sides of an equation are decided by the equal sign. So to help us with that, I sort of did this sort of primitive type sketch right here. It's supposed to be one of those triple beam balances from middle school. And if you remember, they had to balance those things, and you put weights on there and weigh things. So equation sort of operates the same way. So if we were to take this side over here, this a minus 9, and put it on the left side of this balance, over here, to keep it balanced just for this equation, we'd have to put a minus 5. And there's your equal sign right in the middle. So as you solve these, you might go ahead and, if you're solving that, put a plus 9 on that side, and have to keep this thing balanced by putting a plus 9 on that side. And again, that's sort of an illustration of not only a triple beam balance, but our properties of equality, which you might remember, what I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other side of the equation. So, give you a second to check at, make sure we've got all that right, and then we'll move on. Everybody ready? Good. All right, so let's go ahead and clear this out and finish up this lesson here. Please also let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow when we get back together today. So here's example 3, moving on to that. It says solve and check. It says using the check step. So I want to show you that, and it's very valuable. So we have G plus 19 is equal to negative 2. Just like we learned before, we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to put a negative 19 on both sides, or minus 19. We'll clean that up. Remember, we're solving for G right there. So we'll get G is equal to, let's see, negative 19 and a negative 2. I think that makes negative 21. How do I know for sure? I'm going to plug it back in. So negative 21 is going to go right back here where that G is negative 21 plus 19, negative 2. If it is, that's your check step, and it works. That's our unknown. We just found it. Likewise, we have E minus 7 is equal to 11. So we're just going to add 7 to both sides. We're going to clean this up. We got E is equal to 18. Let's do our check step. It takes about 5 seconds. 18 minus 7, if that's 11, just lasso that guy up. Okay? Now, moving on to example 4. I'm going to recommend you do the check step with just about every equation you do. Check your work, check your equations if possible. It says sides are chosen up through the equal sign. We know that already. And then ask this question, it says, how do you undo multiplication? How would you undo multiplication? Well, you can write the word division here if you want to. Or you can just write a division symbol there if you want it, either way. And so hopefully you're clicking on these boxes here. Don't belittle that. Hopefully there's a spot where you can type stuff in there. So if we look at this equation, 4x is equal to 32. That 4 and x are multiplying with each other. That's really 4 times x. Still want to get that x by itself? How do we undo? We're going to divide by 4. And we're doing that on both sides, so we're going to wind up with x is equal to 8. Check it real quick. I think that checks. Did that in my head. Let's look at this one. Negative 2y is equal to negative 18. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. We'll go ahead and simplify that. Negative 2 multiplying and negative 2 dividing, they make a nice big 1. Some of y'all like to think about it canceling out. We got a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive. We get positive 9. Check it real quick, and I think that's correct, so I'll lasso that up. 36 is equal to negative 12a. Now, don't let this bother you that the a is over on that side. We're still going to focus on it. We're still going to get rid of that negative 12 that's multiplying by dividing by negative 12. Let's do it on both sides, property of equality. Clean this up right here, and we get a is equal to a negative 3. Check it. Negative times a negative is a. That's right, positive, and that checks out, so I'll lasso that up. Now, if you want to use the symmetric property and flip that and say a equals negative 3, that's legal. Looking over here at example 5. So shift over here with me real quick. How do you think you undo division? I'm going to abbreviate this. You can write this out if you want to. You're going to multiply. So if something is dividing with our variable, like you see here, this says x divided by 2 is equal to 10. You're just going to multiply. Here's how I show multiplication. I just put double parentheses there on either side, and I'm going to multiply this guy by 2. Again, think about it canceling out, but they're really making a nice big 1 here. 1 times x is x, and 10 times 2 is 20. Right over here, we have y divided by 3 is equal to -4. It's being divided by 3. Multiply both sides by 3. I get y is equal to a positive 12. Negative times a negative is a positive. And lastly, I have 16 is equal to b divided by -2. I'll multiply both sides by -2, and I get 32 is equal to b. Let me check them real quick. Take about 5 seconds. I think that one checks out. This guy right here, uh-oh, what happened here? We got negative divided by negative is positive. Let's see. We're supposed to multiply this by positive 3, put a -3 in there. So this guy should be -12. Did y'all catch that? So that's why we do the check step. So maybe some of y'all were watching me there. So that should be -12 divided by 3 is -4. So I left out a negative sign there. Let's look at this guy. We got b is 32. 32 divided by -2. What should that be? That should be a -32 there. So I dropped negative signs all over the place, I do believe. So I think that now checks. So everybody hopefully understands the importance of the check step right there as illustrated. We can lose signs very quickly. Now, it says 5 things to do to solve equations. Now here's your playbook, I think, for solving just about any equation in high school. So fill it in here with me. It says read the equation and find the variable. Step 2 is to simplify. We're going to find out more about that in upcoming lessons. S-I-M-P-L-I-F-Y. Get the variable on one side. Undo using, let's see, addition or subtraction. And then we might undo using multiplication or division. I'm abbreviating that. If you want to write the word out, please go ahead. Now, let's take a look at this equation right here. And this equation looks a little different than these other ones up here. It says -2x plus 4 is equal to 12. It has a -2 multiplying with the x and a 4 adding to it. So this is where we're going to use these things to do to help us solve this and stay organized. So step 1, we just read that. We found the variable's x. It's right beside the -2. It's already simplified. The variable's already on one side. So the next thing we're going to do is step 4 right here. It says undo using addition or subtraction. Since I see that plus 4, I'm going to put -4 on both sides. Clean that up. I got -2x is equal to 8. I'm going to divide. That's the next thing I do right here. Undo using multiplication or division. Since that -2 is multiplying, I'm going to divide by -2. And I'll wind up with x is equal to 8 divided by -2 is -4, I do believe. But let's check it. -2 times -4, that's positive 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. So I can circle that guy up. Next equation, we have 19 is equal to 3x minus 5. Notice that variable's on the right side. That's not going to bother us. We're going to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. We get 24. It's equal to 3y. We're going to get rid of that 3 that's multiplying by dividing by 3 on both sides. And we get y is equal to 8. Check it. 3 times 8 is 24, minus 5 is 19. I'm going to lasso that guy up. So because we needed to do 2 things right here, those are called 2-step equations. The ones that we did previous are just 1-step equations. Let's look at our last example here, and hopefully I'm on time. If we were going to solve this one real quick, let me go real fast here. Add 4 to both sides. I got 20 is equal to -2x. Divide by -2. And I got x is equal to -10. Let's look at this guy here. There's my variable right there. I'm going to get rid of that -4 by adding 4 to both sides. I got 20 is equal to -2x. I'm going to divide by -2. And I got x is equal to -10. Hey, wait a second. These things have the same answer right there. Notice what happened here real quick. All I did is change the order of these terms. So this term is moved over there, that one's moved over there. Terms are just separated by a plus or minus sign. But the point is here, I want you to notice that our steps, even though these terms are out of order, and are going to be the same, and we wind up with the same exact answer. So put stars by ones like this here. You don't have the ability to star that one, but pay attention to this sign in front of that 3 right here by the variable, because that 3 is really a negative, whereas this 3 is a positive. So let's go to work. That is a positive 3, so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and we get 0 minus 3x, which is negative 3x. 12 minus 3 is 9. Then we'll divide by negative 3, and we have x is equal to negative 3. So let's look at this next one here. Another star problem that might get you in trouble. Gonna go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. Notice that we have negative x is equal to 7 minus 4 is 3. I've got a negative sign in front of that x, which is really a little 1 squeezed in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just multiply both sides by negative 1. That's a little trick that we have, and I have x is equal to negative 3. Let's check a couple of these together, and then we'll be finished. Got negative 3 here. If I put negative 3 right there, I got 3 minus 3 times negative 3. So in my head, that's 3 minus 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And you know that a minus a negative changes to a positive, so that's really 3 plus 9, which is 12. Likewise here, that's 4 minus our x, which we found out to be negative 3. Again, minus a negative, that is a positive, so that's 4 plus 3, which is 7. So both of those checked out, and I think that one checks. Folks, thanks for listening. I'll give you a try sheet here in a second, or ask you to go ahead and download that and get a little practice on your own.